everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Stephanie. I'm the co-founder of Audacity, and I am here with podcast host Heather Parody. She is our keynote speaker for our third annual Audacity Women's Empowerment Summit. So this is Audacity 2025. And Heather holds a special place in our heart because she had a community building mastermind that Natanya, my co-founder, and I joined, both for completely different reasons. We had different communities we were working on building, and we were inspired by what Heather shared in her mastermind, and decided to sort of join forces on a whim and say, hey, let's try something different. I had talked about wanting to hold a women's empowerment, like just a digital conference for women, and Natanya at that time was interested in doing something in the metaverse, and we were like, let's just try it and see what happens. Who knows? And we did it, and it was a big hit, and it really resonated for a lot of women. We had no idea that it was going to be anything other than a one-off thing. And since then, we've been coming back every year doing this summit. And then in addition, we've rolled out some other services that we offer to women that are about gaining visibility. We've sort of positioned ourselves as kind of like a niche media company, helping women birth their creative projects. And we owe it all to you, Heather. So welcome.
So badass. That's so badass. I mean, it's so much work what you guys do. And I just want to publicly acknowledge the effort and the work that goes into it. People don't realize. So there has to be a lot of fire and passion for women in the message that you have to continually show up and do this. It's really cool on the outside, but there's so much that goes behind the scenes. And that is just a big testament to both of you and your dedication and heart for people. I'm curious, what have you learned about empowerment with women specifically after 3 years of serving this community?
Oh boy.
Look how I switched this out on you. Like just
no,
podcasting right here. Let's go.
Podcast host hat is on, I guess, right? I think that what we learned is, or at least I'll speak for myself, that in order to get buy-in, we have to help women see the vision of themselves that we see in them. And if we can sell them on what we see, then that's what gets the buy-in. And if we can't make that connection, then it just falls flat. I feel like what we do, sort of the special sauce that we bring, is that we're able to cut through a lot of the noise. So we women that come with us that are kind of sometimes all over the place, or they have these half-finished things, or things aren't fully fleshed out, and they don't see their brilliance at all. Like they're just like, I kind of know this thing I'm doing. And I feel like we're really good at sort of seeing the potential and the brilliance that they can't see. And we try to build that vision for them and then show it to them and be like, this is what we see in you. And if we can get them to be open-minded enough and maybe not confident, because the confidence comes later, just willing to, like, the willingness to sort of let us hold them up and support them and be their cheerleaders until they are strong enough to carry that vision themselves. Like that's been the thing that we've learned, because to say, this is what we see, you can do it, just wasn't working. Like we were doing a lot of like, let's just try that. Like, no, this is great, just do it. That like the just do it wasn't landing with anybody.
I was just having this conversation before I jumped on here. I was on a call with a somatic breathwork practitioner, and she was talking about top to bottom healing and bottom to top healing. And I had never heard of it. It sounds like you've heard of that before, but it's just this idea of and I'm more top to bottom. Like it's kind of the exposure therapy, the just do it, the action creates clarity. That's how I've been able to do a lot of internal healing and figure out stuff on my own. But then some folks, they resonate more with the bottom to top, which is really needing to get still and safe in your body and dealing with, some of the embodied issues. And sometimes, we do both and we need both or whatever. But I think it was an interesting point that she made, that we have to be really aware of kind of how we heal. But at the end of the day, in order for us to do audacious things, to your point, we have to be able to see it and we have to be able to know who we are.
I so love that you brought that up, because I'm just going to open up the chat here in case if anyone has anything to add, please pop it in the chat. Anyway, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's such an interesting point. So two things. One, like Natanya is a somatic practitioner. That's one of
Yep.
her areas
Yep.
of expertise.
Yep.
I personally, this is something I worked on as someone that had chronic pain for like over 20 years, is that I am, naturally a top-down processor,
Mhm.
which was not serving me, and I had to learn how to be a bottom-up processor.
Yeah.
And feel into things. And working with Natanya has been it's so crazy how everyone talks about how your business is like your path to healing, because that's no joke. Like it is absolutely
No, yeah.
every single piece of crap that I needed to work on comes up all the time. Ask Natanya. Like, I'm sure she's like, how did I end up with this lunatic? But working with her, like just even the language she uses, like, feeling into things, and like when we're working on like launching something new, like, she'll use language that reminds me, stop intellectualizing everything. She'll say, I need a minute with that. I really want to feel into it and see how it feels. And I realized how much bypassing I was doing by being a black and white thinker, because the healing that I did personally for my chronic pain, I still have not been able yet, I'm working on it, letting that spill over in the other parts of my life. But I'll be like, no, it needs to be like this. That's the way I do things. And she has opened my eyes in a way that I'm like, wait a minute, she's right. Like, I need to feel into this and see, what am I feeling and where am I feeling the resistance and why? And I think because both of us, she's of course much more skilled at it, but I have an awareness of it, like, because we both get it. We understand how that works for women.
Yeah.
I think that is something special that we bring to the table, which is why we tend to attract women that are wanting that and needing that, and we end up not attracting kind of who we don't want, like the whole, like the corporate kind of LinkedIn kind of like defense, but like it's a very decisive kind of like go-getter patriarch, like boom, 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 get the business, get the money. And that's not really what we're about. Like, we want to create something, you can have all the short-term tactics and the go for the money you want, but that won't last. You can't build on that and make it last. It's only going to last if it resonates for you. And that's where, like, even getting back to the whole birth of the idea of Audacity, where the term came from, for me, it was my own North Star, where I had a couple things in my life that I realized that, like, oh my God, this is the only thing that I have. I had one thing in my life, actually. This is the only thing I have that I see it so clearly, and I am so awestruck by it that I am willing to do whatever it takes in order to get there. And I became fascinated by that, because I believe that women who do like mind-blowing things, I think we all have that in common. Somewhere, whether we know it or not, because what compels you and pushes you to say, screw the naysayers. I don't care if people say she's nuts. I don't care if people say don't do it, it's stupid or whatever. What is that that compel? Like, for example, I'm a huge fan of Doechie's, and I have been for a long time. She just won the Grammy for Best Female Rap Artist. Whatever. She's amazing. And she talks about this. You can look at her old YouTubes when she was, quote unquote, a nobody, where she just had this strong enough conviction and belief in herself, this vision that was unshakable. And I believe that there's an emotion attached to that. And if we can figure out how to connect to that emotion, that's what keeps you moving forward, even when it sucks and it's hard and people, are trolling you, or your friends are like, what are you doing?
Right.
So, long-winded answer. Wow. I was like, not.
Well, what's interesting is if we think about the implications of what you're saying, is for us to make more audacious, bold moves in our life, it requires us to look within, get comfortable with what we see in ourselves and failure and all this internal stuff, and this inner work healing that needs to take place with all of us, whether you're killing it or not. There's all something needs to be there. It's interesting to think about the tools that we have to help women and help ourselves, which is really, Zoom or Restream or the metaverse or whatever. It's a very robotic, transactional delivery method, or it feels like it sometimes,
Mhm.
with a very soul, heart, spirit, energetic solution. And marrying both those worlds, I think you guys have done just an incredible job with figuring out how to make a very human avenue for people to connect and explore their own healing and be audacious in their work. I don't know how you've done it, but you guys have done an incredible job, and it just seems like people are just flocking to you.
Hopefully, yeah, yeah. I mean, we definitely struggle all the time with what we're doing. Are we doing the right thing? Is this the right path? Is this the right offer? Is this the right, is this the right way to go about it? So we certainly were real about it. Like, this is not, this.
Sure.
And I think we knew from the beginning. I think maybe it was an unspoken thing where we knew we were committed to sort of seeing this through long term, even through, the ups and the downs, and like, or this thing didn't land, or, we've had these things where, and it's funny, we always go back, or at least I do, go back to the whole, action creates clarity, where we've sort of had these projects that we're going to launch, and these ideas, and there was one last year, and it was like, oh, it's going to be so great, and it was like crickets. Like, nobody picked up on it, nobody was really interested, and we were like, oh my god. And then I think it gets back to like just being willing to put it out in the world. You need to be able to do that. You need to be able to put it out in the world, and that's the thing. We're getting, the better we get at it, the better results we get, because the less afraid we are of putting things out that are half finished, or having like a less than fully baked idea. And just knowing that, or trying to convey to the women that we work with, that we're here to help support you. We're here to help you birth your creative idea. We're here to serve in that, sort of behind the scenes function. And however we go about doing it maybe isn't as important. And I think sometimes like we get it wrong, because we're like looking at the end game of like, we're here to get you this, as opposed to we're here to hold you and create the container for you to exist in, so that no matter where you're gonna, whatever the end product is, it really isn't the point. And the point is that you need that support in order to get to that. And Chiroa just chimed in, 100% resonating with this chat lady. So Chiroa, she is, that's the other thing we love to do. So we love coming up with like new categories for women. Like, if the category doesn't exist, or the title doesn't exist, we like to come up with it. So we have dubbed Chiroa the mother of AI art therapy. So, because art therapy exists and AI art exists, but no one has combined the two until Chiroa. So she is,
that's cool.
Yeah. So she came to our summit last year, first time, and connected with a bunch of ladies, was super inspired, wanted to put this together, this project. She's been building it out for like the past year.
Wow.
I'm so glad, Chiroa. Thank you so much for commenting. It's so nice to have some more interaction. And what she did was created a 30-day art challenge with prompts. So gratitude, forgiveness, whatever it might be, and has these AI art prompts. So it helps women who, if you're, everyone knows like traditional art therapy, you kind of have to be like, oh, I have to be an artist. This takes the pressure off. So you can create art using AI. She has a whole Telegram group, her own container where she's holding space for these. And nobody else is doing it. So we're like, that's it. You're the mother of AI art therapy. So for now, in this point forward, because we'll, I'll reflect on this. I forget who, of course, I don't remember now the references, but you hear these terms, that came from somewhere. Someone who was the first person to do it. Like, you better own it. Like, if you're the first person doing it, you need to own that and claim that space, or else someone else is going to do it. And then you're kicking yourself going, why didn't I go? Hey, I'm over here doing this.
I don't want to detour us, but I think folks who are coming to the Audacity Summit and who are working in this space will find this interesting. There's a gentleman I've worked with over the past year or so, who runs a company for IP protection on the blockchain. And it's actually been validated legally that, I forgot the actual term, but he takes your idea and then your IP, protects your IP through the blockchain and so forth. So I don't know that AI therapy stuff. I would be like it's like $97 or something, going ahead and reserving that on the blockchain just for whenever, because there's going to be a swarm of therapists who come in later and do something like that. Like, that's so badass. I had never thought of it, but that should be a thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's incredible what you put together. I mean, it really is. And this is her first time running it. And it is so beautifully done, so fully fleshed out. She's got such great response. She's actually, so she's going to be at the summit doing a roundtable, and she's actually going to be holding the final day of the art challenge at the summit.
Oh, cool.
So, and this is just like the very beginning. So that's kind of like where we are special and different, is that we try to find that, like, in, I love that you brought up IP, because I talk about it all the time.
But let me think about this. If you two did not follow your urge and curiosity to make something, think about all the connections and now products and IP and creativity that has come from the both of you both following your audacious ideas have now unlocked and given permission. Nobody needs permission, but unlock something in other people, or now the fruit of that. And so a lot of times folks will say like, oh man, I don't want to be selfish by pouring my time into this project, or, is it responsible of me? I have to do work related stuff and yada, yada, yada. But there's a ripple effect when you create and when you follow your bliss. There's a ripple effect that actually does impact people's lives. And so it may not seem like this big noble thing, you painting your picture or taking your photos or starting an event or whatever at first, but it's wild, the repercussions of it. So again, just hats off to both of you.
Oh, thank you. And it's been really nice to be able to see the fruits of our labor, to see another artist we work with, Mama Tangy. We helped her launch her first book. She has a body positive adult coloring book. We helped her launch that, and I liked, and she's already working on her next book already.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
We launched it in like October, I think, November, and she's going to be speaking at the summit, and she's already working on her second book. And I think it helps, that's another thing, is it helps create that momentum, is that once you're getting comfortable putting something out in the world, it helps give you some momentum to continue to do that. And I think that's part of what we do in that our district, if you view us from the media company angle, it's really hard, I think, for a solopreneur, a single, woman that is just on her own in her house, doing her art, doing her therapy, doing her spiritual work, whatever, to go, okay, I'm going to launch this thing and start putting it on social media. That feels super hard and super scary, like, because you're by yourself. So we create like an umbrella. You come with us, and then we put all your stuff out there. So that's why we have a multi-streaming platform. So like in Chiroa's case, she has her 30-day art challenge. She has it in her Telegram group because she is part of Audacity. Every single one of her episodes get broadcasts on Twitch, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on, across all different platforms. And all she has to do is focus on creating the work. She doesn't have to worry about the distribution, and that's a
very
hard
smart.
part. Yeah, it's hard for women to do that. Like they have it and they're like, I'm so scared. I don't want to put this out. What are people going to say? We take the fear away, because it's like, you don't have to just give it to us.
We're doing it.
Upload it to the drive, and then we put it out there. We'll put it out in the world for people to see. And whether that's like in Mama Tangy's case, we put it out on Amazon. She didn't have to do any of that. She just had to create the art. We put it together in the book. We put together the cover. We put together the copy, obviously with her permissions and all that. But then it creates space for you to just focus on what you're good at, which is the part that lights you up, the art, the spirituality, because I we do work with a lot of artists, but we have spiritual leaders that we also work with. Sonia Serena, who's a spiritual guidance. She does these sessions where it's called Connecting with Your Higher Self. She's amazing. So we facilitate events for her. So if you're channeling, right, you can't channel and Zoom at the same time. That's right. Like, how do you even, I don't even know how you channel. Like, imagine, like, and I mean, like, oh, let me just manage the Zoom as well. You couldn't do it. So we create, we have the Zoom. She just shows up. We
Right.
handle the people. We're like, okay, who's next? And she just does her thing, and she doesn't have to worry about all of the logistics and the back end and the tech and all that crap that people don't want to deal with. We deal with all that crap for you because we actually like that part. Like, we love doing the tech end. We love being
Right.
behind the scenes. We love being the facilitators. I don't think either of us are super interested in being the, the subject. We like to support the women.
Wow. Man, you're all filling a need in this world.
Yes, we're trying. We're trying.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm super honored to be a part of this. Thank you for having me. What's your goal for the summit?
We would like to have the more women attend and be inspired. What we're really hoping is that women can show up. That's, one of our summit goals is always that. I was saying, when you're alone and it's just you and you have your friend group doesn't do this stuff. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but like my personal friend group, none of my friends do stuff like this. They have their jobs, that they do, but there's side hustles or gigs or whatever, like necessarily things like this. So sometimes it's hard to find your people. And when you're, like you go on LinkedIn and it's like networking groups, and it's like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel like the place. And then, like, where do you go? Where do you go to find other women that are putting themselves out there, that are doing big things in the world, that, have these other non-traditional, I guess, goals?
Right.
Like, where do you find that we, here, like you can find them here, and you can come to our summit and say, oh my God, here's a woman that's from the same country that I'm, or looks like me, has the same color skin, and, or whatever it might be. And if she can do it, so can I. Like, that's kind of the thing, is like, I want to be able for women to show up and go, hold on, look at her. If she can do it, so can I.
I love
So
that.
I'm not afraid, because it's sometimes hard when you only see these women in the context of once they're uber established and super successful. So unattainable. They seem so far away. Like, oh my God, I'm not that.
Totally.
This brings them close and be like, no, they're a person, just like you are. With social media and technology, it creates this divide that doesn't need to be there. And this kind of is that divide for women. So they're now accessible. Like, we're right here in the same virtual space, so to speak.
Woo! Y'all excited to come to this, or what, y'all?
I know. Well, and I'm super excited to hear we already your keynote. You always give these super great keynotes, and they're always what I love. I love practical and actionable. I love being inspired, but I love something that doesn't leave a woman saying, I'm inspired now. What do you do? And that's just a little bit about what you're going to be sharing, because you're great at these, like, inspiring, and now here are some practical steps you can take.
Yeah, I think the intention of it is to give some tools on how to share your message tactically, how to share your story. It seems overwhelming because you have your whole freaking life and all the layers and so forth. So a lot of times people are like, where do I even start to express this? And so how do we take a big idea, a big story, a lot of passion, and frame it and condense it in a way that other people can get on board and understand? So there's an element of communication and storytelling in that, but there's also too a lot of internal work that needs to be done, because, to your point, unless we are in our bodies and being able to deliver something in a way that has resonance and conviction, you can be messy and you don't have to be perfect. People are just looking for folks who are lit up and deeply convicted on something. And so there's that internal side to it, and then also the tactical piece. So there's going to be a lot to cover, but it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so excited. Yeah, this is great. So for those of you that are just joining us, I'm here with Heather Parody, our keynote speaker for Audacity 2025, our virtual Women's Empowerment Summit. This is year 3. It's being held on February 14th, Valentine's Day. So a great gift to yourself or for a friend. 9 to 5 Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be chock full of inspiring, amazing women like Heather, as well as many others. And you can get your tickets at audacityhq.com. Of course, the ticker is usually going down on the bottom, but I opened up the wrong screen. Oh, this is what happened. That's all right, though. It's okay. Audacityhq.com is where you can grab your tickets. And anything else, Heather? I don't want to take up too much of your time. This has been really conversation.
If this is resonating with you, I cannot stress enough the power of getting in the right rooms with people who can be your friend and help you. It's been life-saving for me, and it started off for me as digital mentors and digital friends, and it's taken years to build up, like, IRL real people who I see, but there's always, like, my community is digital and always will be, and I'm grateful for it. So put yourself in a room, whether it's digital or in real life. You're not meant and created to do it alone. And that's why I'm so grateful for both of you for creating this space for people.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
Right.
This is great.
Yes. So hopefully we see a lot of you amazing women there, and we'll see you on the 4th.